Hey, how's it going, everyone? Justin again. As always, thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about preparing yourself for the interview. I know that's got to be a question ringing on someone's mind, and it just so happens I was thinking about it as I was scrolling through some of the comments and other videos that I had done. How do you do it? What can you expect? What should you bring to the table, or what should you at least have in the think tank prior to sitting down for the interview process itself? Let's talk about it. I'll give you a few scenarios of interviews that I've done. Most of them, obviously, we're going to cover as far as shops go, but it might help you with a regular job as it is. All right, first things first. You got to know, well, obviously, you have to know who you're going to be interviewed by. So is it a dealership? Is it an independent shop? Is it a lube tire shop? Who are you being interviewed by, and how does that affect the way that you prepare yourself going into it? Well, it's obviously because when you go to apply for a lube tire shop, usually the guys, mechanics like myself or you or other people that are just starting off, they're just trying to get a foot in the door. They're just trying to get their toes in the door, get their feet wet, to have some experience underneath the belt. So you're almost at that point in time willing to take anything at almost any rate of pay just to get the experience there, because as you guys know, most dealerships and independent shops don't like hiring newbies, which sucks, because if you're green and you don't have any experience with anybody, it's really difficult to get a shoe in and have them trust that you're going to do a good job because you have no experience. You have to formulate experience, and a lube tire shop is like the best way to do it. So if you're applying for that, you just want to get your shoe in the door and get your feet wet. So how do you prepare yourself for that interview? When I did it with Sears Auto Center, I was coming off a second deployment. I had no experience. I had just barely signed up for community college to get my 2-year degree, my Associate in Applied Science in Automotive Technology, but I hadn't started the courses yet. I was very limited on my experience as a mechanic, okay? And I kind of jerried it up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of fudged some of the questions that I was being asked, and maybe over-exaggerated certain truths behind it, but I got my foot in the door, and that's what happens. So here's what I did, and hopefully it helps you. So when I was going in for my interview process, I had already had at least 24 different repairs that I had done on my own truck that I had. I had like a 94 or 95 Chevy 1500 pickup truck with the 454. I think that was the year it was, but the thing was old as shit. It was beat. My brother had almost ran it into the ground. I picked it up from him for like 500 bucks. So in that process, between me and a friend that lived down the street, he saw me working on it. He came over to give me a helping hand. We just kind of hit it off. We lowered the tank down, the gas tank down on our knees. We're laying on our backs, scooting the thing off of our bellies onto the ground to change the fuel pump out, pulling it back over the top of our bellies to shove it back in and put it on our knees and bolt things up. I did the alternator. The alternator was interesting because I learned about the arc and spark of not removing the cable from the battery, and I was like, ah, shit. So I called my mom's boyfriend at the time, who was a retired GM master mechanic, and he's like, yeah, you got to disconnect the negative, yada yada, or the positive, whatever, but you got to take one of those off the battery so the vehicle's not hot while you're trying to take the alternator off. Otherwise, you're gonna have problems. And I was like, all right, shit. So I did that, and then I tried to get the belt off, and I was doing it with a ratchet, right? Because I didn't know any better. I'm just sitting here trying to learn it, and you know, I'm messing around, and it's difficult, and I'm really heave-hoing this thing. So I learned a lot of hard-knock stuff because I had no one there to teach and show me. So on paperwork, when I went in for this interview, I was like, yep, I've replaced an alternator, I've replaced serpentine belts, I've done oil changes, I've done oil pan gaskets, I've done fuel pumps, I've done this, I've done that, and I just started making a little list. I got referrals, so I went to family and friends that did not share the same last name that I did, and I had them write me little referrals saying, yeah, he fixed my car and did this and yada yada yada. So I came in with like 6 referrals, an over-exaggerated list of things that I'd already done to my own truck. By exaggerating, I mean I didn't tell them the process. I just said I did it. And I did do it. I struggled a lot. I didn't tell him that I struggled. So he's like, all right, cool. So it seems like you got, you know, some ability to wrench and whatever. What are you looking for in a job? I'm like, hey man, I'm looking to work part-time because I'm going to college full-time. I don't care if it's minimum wage or whatever your pay is. I'll take anything at this point. I'm just trying to get my foot in the door. And to be honest, I think this is a great place to start. I already kind of knew one of the guys that worked there because I had stopped in and out and I had a few services done with them, and I had BS with one of their mechanics, and him and I talked offline on the phone. So I was like, so I already kind of had a shoe in with this guy a little bit. And I was like, I'm just trying to get my foot wet and gain some experience and traction. I can promise you this though. I said, I guarantee you 2 years of solid employment. I will not leave this place for 2 years while I'm going to community college. This is the only shop that I'm ever going to work for. And he's like, okay, I like to hear that. That's awesome. Do you have any tools? I was like, I do, but only at the community college. He goes, okay, well, we don't require you to have tools here because we do have, you know, a little tiny oil change set thing that you can use. But some of the guys in the shop, they like to have their own stuff. You'll get a 20% discount on anything in the store. So if you want to buy your own stuff and set it up in the shop, find a corner, whatever. I'm like, cool, rock and roll. So I did. I started off that way, and they didn't have anything hardly other than a couple of the most common sockets and maybe one Craftsman ratchet that would remove like the oil drain plugs. But when it came to doing brakes, shocks, struts, things like that, sway bar links, they didn't have half the tools because they had all gone missing, right? Former employees took off with them, etc., etc. They couldn't track it. They didn't have cameras in there. So I was like, shit. So that's what happened there. That's another story, though. I know I'm kind of running off. All right, preparing for a dealership, though, and dealership interview. What do you need? You need to have some experience. That's what I'm kind of getting at. That's what this whole like first 7 minutes has been about, is gaining the experience. You need to get your foot in the door and get your feet wet and make sure you have experience at some kind of shop, at least for 2 years, at least. If you only show that you have a few months here, maybe a year tops, you might get in. But having at least 2 years of work-related experience at one shop shows commitment. It shows that you have experience on working on cars. And if you're able to maintain employment for 2 years, it shows that you don't really fuck shit up all that much. So that's good. So you have a better chance of getting in. ASCs are great. If you have them, cool. Not a necessity, okay? It's not really required to get a job at a dealership, but they do like seeing that because you took your own money, went out of your way to get certified. Now, some lube tire shops, i.e. Firestone, Midas, Goodyear, Sears, if you pass your ASE tests, they'll actually give you the money back that you spent to take them. So take advantage of that while you're there. Take full advantage of that. If somebody's willing to pay you to pass an ASE test, and you know you can pass it, then pay for it. Get it all done. Become a master tech before you even step foot in the door, if that's possible. You know what I'm saying? Other things that are going to prepare you outside of experience and certifications is going to be how long your employment was, not just for that one particular position that you're trying to fill, but in general. So if you're used to like jumping around from job to job to job to job, and you've only kept this last job for 2 years, it might show them that you're a flight risk, that you might dive out if something doesn't go right, because a lot of your employment in the last 5 years is usually what they ask for. If you're going 6 months here, 3 months there, 4 months here, 1 year there, 2 years here, they might be like, I don't know about this guy. You know, he's kind of jumped around a lot, and then finally, did he find his calling, or is this another milestone in his path where he might not like it and then cruise out the door? Are we going to waste money training him? These are things that the dealership thinks about when they're bringing you in. Independent shop really is kind of all scuffed. They're going to give you a trial run. I had a trial day. They gave me 1 day to show what I was worth. In that time frame, I did a lot of minor repairs because that wasn't enough time to do a lot of major repairs, and they weren't sure about me. So I did some oil changes. I did some shocks. I busted out a radiator. I did a condenser. I did a tune-up. I did a couple of like heater hoses and a lower coolant hose and all those vehicles went home that day. So they were extremely, extremely happy that I was able to get that much work done in one day, and that's why they initially brought me on. Why they brought me back was because I was really easy to work with. And we'll get into that into another video about like how you should be if you're an employer. Maybe I'll touch base on it a little bit in this video. Guys, don't be an asshole, okay? Don't be the dickhead. Don't be cocky as fuck and walking around the shop and thinking that your shit doesn't stink. Just be cool, man. Just be cool. Sometimes less is more. Talk less, listen more, okay? Do your job, complete your jobs, do it as efficiently and as fast as you possibly can. If you're always running around and flapping the mouth and bitching about certain things, people don't tolerate that. If you're just not really interpersonal and you can't communicate with the guy across from you, that might be something that they're like, hey, I don't know, this isn't going to work out. It didn't seem like you and so didn't click, and they've been here the longest, and I trust their judgment over yours. So, a little tidbit. Interview process, though, make sure you got your ducks in a row. Experience, get your referrals. If you have time, get some certifications to put on there. Make sure you spend time, a lengthy period of time, at least 2 years if you can, okay? I know that it's hard, but try to give it any shop at least 2 years of your time. It's going to show that you actually are loyal to a fault. So, that's all I got for this video, guys. I hope it helps somebody. Thanks as always for watching. Hit the thumbs up if you liked the video. Hit the thumbs down if you didn't like the video. We'll see you next time. Deuces.